Tenders and Turntables. Henry and Gordon and James were lonely when Thomas left the yard to run his own branch line. They missed him very much. They had more work to do and had to fetch their own coaches. They didn't like that. "We get no rest, we get no rest," they all complained. Altogether, the engines were causing the Fat Controller a great deal of trouble. The big stations at both ends of the line each have a turntable. The Fat Controller had made them so that the tender engines can be turned round, because it is dangerous for them to go fast backwards. Tank engines like Thomas don't need turntables. They can go just as well backwards and forwards. Gordon was very proud of his tender. "You don't understand, little Thomas," he said one day. "We tender engines have a position to keep up. It doesn't matter where you go, but we are important. And for the Fat Controller to make us shunt trucks, fetch coaches, and go on some of those dirty sidings, it's not the proper thing." Thomas chuckled and went off with Annie and Clarabelle. "Disgraceful," Gordon hissed as he ran backwards to the turntable. The turntable was in a windy place close to the sea. It was only just big enough for Gordon, and if he was not on it just right, he put it out of balance and made it difficult to turn. Today, Gordon was in a bad temper, and the wind was blowing fiercely. His driver tried to make him stop in the right place, but Gordon wasn't trying. The fireman tried to turn the handle, but Gordon's weight and the strong wind stopped him. Some of the other men came to help. "It's no good," they said at last. "Your tender upsets the balance. If you were a nice tank engine, you'd be all right. Now you'll have to pull the next train backwards." "Look, Colson boys, there's a new tank engine." "Oh, it's only Gordon back to front." Gordon said nothing. Even James laughed when he saw him. "Take care," hissed Gordon. "You might get stuck too." "No fear," chuckled James. "I'm not as fat as you." "I mustn't get stuck," thought James. He stopped at just the right place to balance the table. It could now swing easily. James's fireman turned the handle. Gordon arrived in time to see everything. James turned much too easily. The wind puffed him round like a top. He couldn't stop. At last the wind died down and James stopped turning. "Well, well," said Gordon, "are you playing roundabouts?" James was feeling quite giddy and rolled off to the shed without a word. That night the free engines held an indignation meeting. "It's shameful to treat tender engines like this," said all three engines together. "Gordon has to go backwards and people think he's a tank engine. James spins round like a top and everyone laughs at us. And to add to that, the Fat Controller makes us all shunt in dirty sidings. Ugh!" "Listen," said Gordon. He whispered something to the others. "We'll do it tomorrow. The Fat Controller will look silly." The engines had decided to go on strike. Oh dear. This is not going to be good, isn't it? But I mustn't tell you any more, or I shall spoil the next story. If you know what I mean.